Today's lesson is 5.2, Use Similar Right Triangles, Geometric Mean. Let's go ahead and start with the definition of the altitude. An altitude is a segment from a vertex that is perpendicular, that would give me my 90 degrees, to the opposite side, or a line containing the opposite side. That just means it could be outside the triangle. But for what you're going to see in today's lesson, this will be what your altitude will look like. And you're just going to have to be able to identify the altitude. That's the first thing you're going to do, in today's lesson. Be able to identify the altitude. I will be highlighting it with yellow today every time that we go ahead and see it. All right, let's go ahead and talk about our geometric mean. The geometric mean of two positive numbers, let's call them A and B, is the positive number x such that I can create this ratio. Okay, my x's will appear twice in the numerator of one fraction and the denominator of the other fraction. Okay, they will always appear crisscross from one another. Okay, always the geometric mean will appear crisscross from one another. And then A goes ahead and fills in one of the other blanks, and B fills in the other blank. To solve this problem, we would just cross multiply. So we would do A times B equals X times X. So we would have something like X squared equals the product of A times B. And then we can solve from there using algebra. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our geometric mean. If the altitude is drawn in to the hypotenuse of a right triangle, then, okay, look at my picture. From C to D would be my altitude. In both of my pictures that you see here, C to D would be my altitude. So let's go ahead and mark that, because that's going to be the first thing that you're going to do today. Altitude. Let me put it on the other one. Altitude. Okay, you have your large right triangle where the right angle is at the vertex C. A to B is going to be your hypotenuse. So let's go ahead and label that. Here is my hypotenuse, right? From here at B to here at A. There's my whole hypotenuse. Okay. This side from A to C is going to be a leg. And then, of course, on the other side, I have a leg as well. So let me grab one other color. I have a second leg. Okay. And the difference between the two legs just is for helping me set up my proportions. Okay. So if we come down here to this other ABC triangle, there's my leg and my leg. They're in the same positions, and my hypotenuse is right here. Right? Now, what you might be noticing, and rightfully so, that there are two more right triangles. A, D, and C make a right triangle. A, D, and C make a right triangle, as do C, D, and B make a right triangle. Excuse me. What these right triangles do is they allow me to set up proportions depending on what is marked in my right triangle. Um, if I know that the altitude is marked, it becomes my geometric mean. Okay, so notice, just like what we showed up above, the geometric mean always goes crisscross from each other, one in the denominator, the bottom, one in the top, the numerator. Okay, so there's my geometric mean, my altitude, and then notice it's saying part of the height, that's part of the hypotenuse, and then it says other part of the height. which is the hypotenuse. So notice here is one part, here is the other part. Okay, so if I go back, here is my part and my other part, or it's still a part, right? They're both part of the hypotenuse. One's one part, one's the other. Now, if you do not have your altitude marked, then your leg becomes your geometric mean. And your leg becomes your geometric mean. Let me try to do this. Here we go. So if my orange leg, right, if my orange leg were the hypotenuse, um, then I would use the whole hypotenuse. Okay, I would use the whole hypotenuse. Let me see. Let me see what color I have to do the whole hypotenuse. And oh, there we go. The whole hypotenuse, right? From beginning to end, from A to B. I'm trying to match the colors that I used to write them. And then the part of the hypotenuse next to the leg. Well, next to my orange leg is the purple part. So I would put the purple. Okay. Oop, you know what? I need to do that up above. There we go. But one of my legs is blue. My other leg is blue, the longer leg from C to B. So if the leg is the blue part, I'm still going to use the whole peach hypotenuse, but now I'm going to use the part of the hypotenuse that is next to the blue leg, which is the pink part. Okay? So the top goes with the top color, the bottom goes with the bottom color. Okay? It gets a little confusing when it's the leg, but basically if I use this leg, I need to use this part. But if I use that leg, I have to use that part. And then I always use the whole hypotenuse. I always use the whole hypotenuse. All right, let's go and give these a try. And I'm going to change my color. Here we go. All right, so I have two examples. Each leg is the geometric mean of between the hypotenuse and the segment if the hypotenuse that is adjacent to the leg. So let's go ahead, and this one is talking about my legs being, okay? My leg is that's what it's saying here, that the leg is the geometric mean, okay? There's that word geometric mean again. So I'm going to set up a proportion, and I'm going to use it based off of what my one said before. Okay, so I'm always going to start with the altitude. Okay, so let me grab my yellow highlighter. I'm going to always find the altitude and I'm going to highlight it. Okay, always the altitude. That's the first thing you do. Altitude. Is it marked? That's the second step thing you ask yourself. So you look at the altitude. I like to mark it with a highlighter. You just need to look at it and ask yourself, is it marked? Well, how would I know that it's marked? It will either have a number or it will have a variable. It will have a letter. This altitude has neither. This altitude has nothing. I wrote the word altitude there. So this one is not my geometric mean. Okay, so that means that one of my legs is. So here's my leg over here on this side, and it has a variable with it. Okay, so I'm not even going to mark the other leg because this is my geometric mean. This is my geometric mean. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that orange color that I used in the top. This is my geometric mean. I'm going to need to use the whole hypotenuse, and then I need to use the part next to my leg. So I needed to make sure that I had the leg, the part next to it, and the whole thing. That's going to help me make up my geometric mean, because here was there we go, my hypotenuse. Okay, now to find my hypotenuse, I'm going to have to go ahead and add together 9 plus 16. 9 plus 16, well, that's 25. 9 plus 16, 25. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and set up our proportion. Our leg is our geometric mean. In the beginning, it might be a good idea to go back and to take a look, but you're going to put leg, leg. You're going to put the part of the height. Wait a minute. No, you're going to put the whole hypotenuse. Right? And then you're going to put part of the hypotenuse next to the leg. Okay, that's how you're going to set it up. So if I look at it again, my leg was labeled Y. So I'm going to put Y and Y. My whole hypotenuse is 25, and the part next to it is 9. So why is the 16 there? Well, the 16's there just to help you find the 25. That's why it's there. All right, now you're just going to cross multiply because that's how we solve these. Y times y is y squared, and 25 times 9 is 225. You're going to go ahead and take the square root of both sides. Take the square root of both sides. The square root of y squared is y, and the square root of 225 is positive 15. It is also negative 15, but remember we are in geometry and we're talking about a piece of a triangle, so I cannot have a negative answer. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Let's take a look at the next one. The length of the altitude is the geometric mean between the two segments of the hypotenuse. So let's go right in here and notice that now it's saying that the altitude is going to be given to you. It's going to be marked. Remember, I can mark it with a number or I can mark it with a variable, a letter. So I always start by finding the altitude. And as you can see, this time my altitude is marked with the variable x. It is marked with the variable x. So I'm not even going to go ahead and write down that there's a leg. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to mark where the hypotenuse is. Okay, this time I don't need to add them together because it says I'm going to take the part and the part. Okay, so I'm going to use those numbers just as they are. My geometric mean that I set up is going to be my altitude is my geometric mean. So it's going to go top and bottom, numerator, denominator. And of course, it doesn't matter. This is where the formula says they go, but it is not wrong if you were to put this one over here and then that one over there. The only thing you can't do is have altitude over altitude. That is not a good thing to do for the geometric mean. That's never a good thing to do. Okay, and then you're going to have the part of the hypotenuse and the other part of the hypotenuse. So one part goes on one side, one part goes on the bottom. Let's go ahead and set it up. So my altitude is x, bottom, top, denominator, numerator. I like to put the purple one here and the pink one there, but it doesn't really matter. It does not matter. Let's go ahead and cross multiply. You're going to do 9 times 16 and x times x. I like to keep the x squared on this side, and 9 times 16 is 144. You're going to go ahead and take the square root of both sides. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 144 is positive and negative. 12. But remember, once again, we're talking about a piece of a triangle, so we ignore the negative part. Hope this helps. See you next time.